search of the 3 missing Montgomery College students continues in Frederick County tonight.
You're there in spirit, though. Knock 3 times.
This didn't happen last time.
I know. It's fine. We'll just have to roll with it. Yeah, Paul, thanks for hanging out today.
Thanks for having me on. This is such a cool idea for a podcast. I'm honored to be with you guys. So,
well, I mean, honestly, the honor and privilege is all ours. You know, we spent a lot of time in the creative room trying to figure out who we should have on as guest number 2. And it was very easy to land on you.
Yeah.
Again, we're revisiting UF, the Unnamed Footage Festival 7, and
right.
the best lineup we've ever had. And we have to say that the Coldness, again, I'm speaking for everybody here, was an oddball film that kind of caught us all off guard. And then when we saw who you were, we're like, wait, what is going on here? And every now and then we'll get like a Hollywood entry, like kind of like a low studio level Hollywood film. And they kind of never get it. Like it always feels like they're coming into the subgenre looking to make like, I don't know, a quick buck, or maybe just do something without so many producers breathing down their neck. And it's always interesting, but they never really work. And then we saw the Coldness and we loved it. And again, Paul, huge part of that was just you being the protagonist.
Oh, thanks.
So everybody who's listening, pull Paul up right now. Paul Parducci on IMDb.
Yeah, I've got the Coldness up right here. Look at these insane credits, though. You've been in so much stuff, Paul.
Yeah. I've been around a while. Yeah.
So, Paul, let's see. From film to TV to video games to found footage.
Yeah.
Somehow you ended up at the Balbo and the 4-star with us. And I'm just curious to know how we ended up graced with the Coldness.
Well, yeah. First of all, it's very gratifying. Unnamed, just the best film festival I've ever been to. I mean, so much fun. It just was great. It was an honor to premiere the Coldness there, and I can't tell you just how, the memories I have meeting you guys, and it was just fantastic for me with the Coldness. And now it's like, I always say, it's like I've had like 5 careers in show business, from doing like a lot of sitcoms at one time. I did Cartoon Network and a lot of gangster movies and everything else. And I feel like right now it's like my first love was this. That's
so cool.
The horror genre and everything else. And this was always been in the back. When I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey. So, growing up, I used to go to the Park Theater. I grew up in New Jersey. I'd go to the Park Theater. And my first love, I would go, I saw those Amicus films, those anthology movies. Milton Subotsky wrote and produced these. They had, Roy Ward Baker directed, Freddie Francis. And I would go, I mean, still to this day, it's like Freddie Francis's Tales from the Crypt, the original, was my favorite movie at the time. So horror, this horror thriller, sort of, occult, all this sort of paranormal world has always been my great interest. And so it was just natural for me. I said, at this point in my life, it's just like, this is what I want to focus on doing. And I was always a big fan of Val Lewton. Val Lewton had a production unit at RKO where he was given very limited budgets. And he was able, he more or less, he wrote and produced, these films, and he worked with some of the, Jacques Tourneau, some great directors, Robert Weiss. And he was able to more or less do what he wanted to do. He did Cat People, and he was able to create a world, just really work with people that he wanted to work with, and tell these visual sort of suspenseful stories in the way he wanted to do them. And that's been kind of what my thought process is now going into film. Because you guys, I mean, all of us, I mean, we know we're all cinema people, right? We love cinema, but the thing is, and not to just put too fine a point on it or anything, but a lot of the mainstream cinema now just doesn't connect with a lot of us that are sort of steeped in movies. It just, for some reason, some of them are, just great. I really love, certain movies but for me, all the interesting films are coming out of indie cinema. I mean, essentially everybody. I mean, and it's not a question of, those large sort of what they used to call tentpole movies, the big. I have nothing against them. I have friends of mine that do them. There's superhero movies, everything else. I just don't connect with them. I really was steeped on like the 70s films coming up as a kid, and it's just I don't really connect with them. It's like I do with independent cinema, and I just feel the voices coming through, and I think the collaboration is very strong because obviously it has something to do with budgets too, because the larger the budget, the more people are involved with it. But that's kind of the feel I have for this world. So I'm really proud to be a part of this. And also I think our community, like essentially, we'll just say horror in general, the horror community, it's just really a great group of people. I find that the people in our world tend to be, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, it's my take on it. It's just a very great community of artists,
Yeah, the horror community can be great, but there's still there's a divide there with the in-world camera found footage group, because after the Blair Witch came out, the horror community was the group that kind of stigmatized the genre. And as as we rolled on, we got Paranormal Activity, then it really just became like, these are the movies you make when you have no talent or money.
Right.
And part of the reason we started this film fest was kind of to push back against that, because I think you're right.
Yeah.
It changes everything when a parameter of the film you're making is that the camera is part of the story.
Yes.
And you can do so much with it. And that's why I'm like, well, how do we end up getting you? Like, Paul, at what point did you watch a found footage movie and then you're like, I got to make one of those?
Well, here's the thing. And it's funny you bring that up, because my you guys are more in tune with what's going on. I probably don't even connect, pay attention enough to know that found footage is maligned in any way or something. I just think in terms of everything, and I love the term in camera, right?
Yeah.
So everything's in camera now. We've become very personal. And I mean, if you look at Instagram, everything's personal, everything's in, and it's like you'll see moments like at a dinner party or something where you just see, some real connection between someone. That's all sort of found footage now too.
Yeah,
right. We're all in camera now. So
that's a discussion that like me and Russ have had before about how like, I think that the Emerald camera format is only going to get bigger and bigger, because like you said, all these young kids right now, they're growing up. Everything they watch, all the vlogs they watch, all the content they watch is all shot that way. So it feels second nature to them in a way that it didn't to us growing up,
Absolutely. And I think also sort of like what we describe as found footage. I mean, did you guys see we're all going to the World's Fair?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you just see an expansion of what the genre is, because at a certain point in that film, and I don't remember exactly the moment, but you just realize that it's being shot. Like he's going through the door and they follow the character through the door, and then there's a reverse or something like that.
Yeah.
It broke the rule of in camera, and I was like, I survived.
Yeah.
It was fine, and I'm right back in, and you're just right back. So all these other things, and I have another film. You know, Coldness. Now we're going to have the LA premiere June 21st out here
Nice.
in Sherman Oaks. But I have another film that's also on the festival circuit. James Erstead directed, called "What Happened to Susie." Also a found footage type mystery. And I don't know. I think our world, you know, like we were just describing, you know, everybody's so I see everybody looking at their phone. I of course try not to do it, but of course I feel like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at their phone. Everything's filmed. Everything. I was listening to some live music last night. Everybody's filming the live music, going around, people walking by. It's like you know, somebody's filming a band, and I see people walking by in front of they're forever part of that. It's like this sort of huge ocean of footage, just constantly like growing at all times.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's kind of what I think with this genre too. And just to get this, and I want you guys' opinion on this. One of the things, like I started kind of doing comedy and, you know, kind of a performance art comedy in New York a million years ago. And it's like comedy would always appeal to me about comedy. It's a very visceral medium. If it's funny, you're going to laugh, even if
Exactly.
even if it's a terrible thing. And it's like the great thing about horror, thriller, this type. It's like if it's scary, you're going to jump, or you're going to feel it, or you're going to feel, you know, even more for me than like jump scares. Everything. It's like this sense of impending doom or creepiness you can bring into somebody, right? So this visceralness of the medium, and I think found footage adds that whole other element. Could this be possibly true? Because now, like when we're talking about, like, we're all going to the World's Fair, it's like okay, so it's found footage, right? So it's supposed to be real, and it's like maybe not. That's not real, but maybe some of this is real, and some of it like messes with you. And I love to be messed with like that. Is that some of it? Is that, you know? So that's what it is. I mean,
well, Paul, I got a question for you.
Mhm.
Now, I grew up with all my heroes being like pro wrestlers or like Arnold in the 80s.
Right.
And a lot of the time I end up talking about how dudes with your physique kind of get put into a corner now.
Yes.
Like, and it's interesting hearing you talk about horror and comedy, because I feel like those are the two genres who kind of are the least interested in you, which is like, you know, in action movies, you end up kind of being the comic relief all the time. Like we see that happen to Thor, and Hemsworth was not happy. And that's why he moved over to Furiosa and was pumped. Also, hold on, Terrell, you know, I can turn your mic on. Just do it. Forget the camera. Like, just join in here because you're in the room, and I'll keep this up here so you can see it. But yeah, Paul, like for comedy, like, is there an obstacle that you have to overcome, like looking the way you do? Because here, when Paul came to us, it was clear that you were like a different person. You stood a foot taller than everybody, and you're lean, but you're also you're pretty ripped. So you stood out.
Right.
And I just like in stand-up comedy or in horror, they're usually not kind to your type because you're a problem. In a home invasion film, the audience might think you could do something.
Right. So, yes.
Yeah. Usually we just get rid of you immediately.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just one of those things. It's like I've always been sort of this guy. I started lifting weights young. I'm essentially, as a kid, I was a very bookish kid. I went to the movies. I read all the time and everything else. And then I just liked lifting weights. I got into weightlifting early. And it's, you know, the physicality has been a part of me. So I just try and bring it to the characters I have. And again, it's like one of those things, like when you're talking about, you know, the sort of, maybe there's a divide within the horror community with, you know, the classical horror and found footage. It's like I just never paid attention to it. I just didn't. It's like, well, I'm interested in this. You know, I'll do this, and I will do, like, I'm going through I'm in pre-production for another film now, and I'm working on the character, which it's always an arduous process for me, because I'm thinking, I try and let intuition as I'm building this guy. I'm trying to really get a handle on who this guy is before we start shooting in July, and it's so I think in terms of, okay, how do I want this guy to look? So I was thinking of a particular jacket, and I'm driving around and I saw a Goodwill that I hadn't been to before, and I went in there and I found this jacket. In fact, before the what we're doing, this interview now,
Yeah.
trying to get, I tried to go to a tailor because I need the sleeves taken up. So I'm thinking, I am aware about how physically I want to present myself and for this character. So I'm going to wear a jacket in this. I mean, he's not going to be a guy with typically, I'm not going to be wearing like a tank top or whatever, for this. So, but it's, I guess I'm taking a million miles to answer the question. I do think about physicality for characters, but it's never a block for me personally. Maybe I ignore it. So, I mean,
you're not showing up at an audition trying to look smaller?
I will go, like I said, like for this character, I'm going to wear a jacket, because essentially if I can wear a jacket or something, I'm going to look, I'm not going to look as jacked or something for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will do that, based on the character. So it's like, right. So I guess the short answer is not every character that I do is going to be like a jacked character or anything else. For instance, in the, like the Coldness, he's Nick Polito, the character I played, was a retired homicide detective. Mm-hmm. And so I felt I dressed for him, and his build was natural for him, because it's like, he's a cop, he's a Jersey City cop. It's like, I'm very familiar with that world. These guys lift weights and everything else. It's so that was part of it. If it was something else, I'd make, deal with, costuming in a little different fashion, like I'm doing with this new film. So, I mean, I think in terms of all those little things. I think in terms of, besides, of course, the obvious things, the history of the character, what does the character want? What are the, what drives the character? I think, how these characters.
So you wrote the Coldness. So you wrote your part, and
right.
I'm interested to know how you landed on being a homicide detective, especially now when you're a protagonist in a horror film, and we're still like where we are culturally, we're still not cheering on police. And I thought it was a pretty interesting decision, because you almost start with like a aggressive audience. Like they're kind of not on your side, and you have to win them over.
Right.
And so coming into that script, also, I imagine that you play a lot of either people running into the law or detectives. So is that like a comfortable spot for you?
This was really what drove this character is I got this idea for this movie came almost whole cloth to me.
Wow.
It was just weird. It's like this intuition thing. It's like, oh my God. It's like when Terrell, good to see you, sir.
Hey, I'm finally here after all this technical difficulties. But you've been great, by the way. I'm loving all your answers. And you look like a cop. And when I saw you in person, you were very...
you scared Terrell.
You didn't scare me. I was just like, oh, okay. Hey, Paul. Yeah, it was like very that. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so it's just like the I knew right. It just the I don't know if this is the plot, the overarching theme of it. Everything drove towards this guy on a search, and
but at what point? So were you getting like a snack? I'm sure you don't. You look like you have a pretty strict diet. But was it like late night and you popped into the freezer and you're like, what if there was a body in here?
Yeah, it's tough. This thing that it just came to me. It was like, this. I don't. That's a good question. I don't know exactly the moment, but I just remember I had to start writing this thing down because it just came in. It was like this, and the same thing happened with this next movie, because the next movie I'm doing, I also wrote, and it's the same weird thing happened. So I don't know where they come from. Robert Louis Stevenson talks about this. He talks about getting these ideas in dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm a believer. It's like you're sort of dipping into this this ocean of ideas or something, and something triggers it. And I find the same with the characters. And the weird thing too, because you asked about the character in Nick Polito, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I wrote him, right? I wrote the character, however number of months it took for that script. I don't know if it was 6 months, 8 months or something. I wrote the character, and you'd think would know the character because I wrote it. And I was thinking I'm going to play this guy. But then when I finished this screenplay, then I'm like, how do I play who is this guy? So it's like I end up doing the same work I do if I'm given a script from somewhere else to develop the character. And I'm going through it now. I'm very uncomfortable as I'm speaking with you, because in the back of my, running program, I'm thinking about this new character that I also wrote, that I also thought I was going to be playing as I'm writing the screenplay. And I'm still trying to figure out, I end up doing the same work as if I didn't write it, and they're just handing it to me. So it's just a weird thing because, so that's what it is now. So that's what I'm figuring out. I'm like I'm doing crazy things, like I'm getting a jacket. So I figure if I get the jacket, so I'm going to fill in the jacket, and I'm going, I got some, sunglasses coming today. I got some other stuff. It's like, I'm just going to look at these things and just think about, so that's the weird thing about this.
So is your next movie you said you're working on, is that found footage as well?
That's a good question. I don't want to give away too much to it.
Okay.
But that's okay. You could give it away.
But
we want to know.
But I would say, when I actually think about it, there are some found footage aspects to it, right?
Okay.
There are some, and there's a lot of has an analog component.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm surprised where the story went, but again, this weird thing just came to me. So I'm pretty excited about it. I spent 10 months writing it. So we just had the table. We just started, like I said, pre-production. We had the table read last weekend, had some adjustments on it, but we're going to start shooting in July. So
awesome.
I'm pretty excited about it. So
you've been in the game for a while now.
Right.
Do you have like peers or like people you've worked with, and then they're like, "Hey, Paul, what are you up to?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm writing a found footage movie." Like, do they give you like side eye, or they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, my friends in this business are kind of used to me, because I've sort of kind of followed my own path in this business. So like I said, I feel like I've had 5 careers. I mean, at one point, like in the 90s, I was moving from sitcom to sitcom to sitcom.
Yeah.
And
Girlfriends. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was the world, I was in. I was doing gangster movie to gangster movie. And it's like, so I just kind of follow the interests where I'm at. I never want to feel like I'm phoning it in. I'm very excited now because I'm not phoning anything in. And for me, the sign is when I'm scared, when I'm personally like, wow, like I'm thinking about this new character, I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? How are we going to do this? How can it, because, a film, we're all artists here. It's like, it's it's a series of challenges. It's like, part of me is like, I want all the challenges done. I want to know everything. I want to know every answer, and it's done, right? that's like kind of the impossible goal. But it's like, these things, it's like, here's the first thing. Okay, this is a problem. This is impossible. How do I do this? And then we do that. And it's like, okay, this is another problem. It's impossible. How do we do? So it's like, I know that when I'm like that, I'm engaged. I'm not phoning it in. And that's what I'm grateful for. So far, so good in this business over these, decades I've been doing this. I've been able to stay engaged by doing things, and I've been allowed to do things that keep me excited and engaged with it, which I think is the job, we have as artists, right? It just, because the audience can tell, at least, even if something doesn't work, I think the audience always can tell if it's an honest attempt, or or at least you're personally invested in something. I don't think any audiences, we always get, like, for all of us, I think, because we make stuff and we're also consumers of stuff. Yeah. So we all know that whole thing. It's like, when it's just
Paul, I think you found the right community, because the horror community, we love a good character actor too.
Yeah.
And earlier, I think yesterday, me and Terrell were looking through your IMDb, and he noticed all these shows. And he was just like, oh my God, Paul's in these. I couldn't help but look at all the names of the characters you've played.
Right.
Where I'm like, it's, to just hear the thought that you put in roles when you're getting casted as like Jimmy Roach, The Intruder, Hammer. Like it feels like you're in a very narrow lane. So just to know that you're bringing something all the time.
Right.
Yeah. What were you talking? Desperate Housewives? Was that the?
Yeah.
You took my shine. But I was, So anyways, yes, you did a lot of that. You did Desperate Housewives, Girlfriends, the Bernie Mac show. I watched all those shows growing up. And so you've been all over the place. You did horror, comedy, everything, drama. But you also did video games. And I'm a huge fan of the Arkham Knight series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about those. Like how was doing like voiceover stuff for like the Batman games?
I like doing voiceover. In fact, I do quite a bit of voiceover even today. I always have something going out there. But I just really like voiceover. It's another way to sort of it's a different kind of acting.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I just enjoy, and I know that people, one of the great things about a video game is like you're embedding yourself into this world that then other people get embedded in. You talk about in camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're going in and it's over the long haul. Because at the end of the day, too, it's corny, but it's like, if you're an artist, you got to be of service to people. And one of the great things I know, if you have a cool character in a video game, it's of service to whoever's playing the video game. If you're, cool, whatever you're doing, if you're writing or gaffing or directing or producing something, you're bringing something to the audience that it's got it's cool stuff to do. Video games, cool stuff to do. Watching a movie, stuff to do. Watching a TV show, cool stuff to do.
Were you a big Batman fan?
I like was never a big superhero guy. Comics wise, I loved the Vault of Horror. I love those. I love the EC comics. Okay. The reprints. I used to get those all the time, and I did like Jonah Hex a little bit.
Yeah.
John Carter, Warlord of Mars, I actually collected John Carter when they first. I still have them somewhere here. I got a whole.
Oh wow! Okay.
They're worth nothing, John Carter. He's in the one comic book thing that I collected. I even got the annuals and stuff. They're like,
hey, if you still like them, they're worth a lot. That's what matters.
Yeah, that's right. And, I do like Batman because, I guess he was not a real, he didn't have superpowers. So I kind of like that. He had to live by his wits.
Yeah.
And but again, I was more of that horror, the more creep factor stuff I liked as a kid with comics. So
nice.
Yeah, it's wild that, you're talking about, Terrell, you were talking about all the shows you had watched. I didn't realize until the Coldness that I had actually been a Paul Parducci fan since I was young, and I just didn't know it, because I remember you were a coach in Drake and Josh,
Right? Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you're in Good Burger as a police officer, and
Yeah.
So I remember seeing you pop up. You're in all that too, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. I remember seeing you pop up. I used to watch all those shows growing up. So
yeah, like when I saw you, I was like, he looks familiar for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see all this. Did you have any fun, like any stories from back of those sitcoms that you remembered that you little sneak peeks at some of those shows that we mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I just I have a lot of great memories. I remember working with Bruno Kirby on the show doesn't come, but uh, Bruno Kirby, who's passed away, great actor, was in The Godfather. I remember talking about date shakes with Bruno Kirby. I mean, there's just thousands of these memories I have over time. So I've been able to work with a lot of great people. So, it's a lot.
Nice.
I did a movie with Billy Bob Thornton years ago.
Oh, nice.
And we had a lot of fun on that. I still remember. I remember we were in a scene. Name of that movie is A Gunna Car Blonde, and I remember John Ritter was playing the bartender in the bar.
John Ritter.
Yeah, who's passed away. So
sadly,
I remember John Ritter was such a great physical comedian. So you had this thing where he's handling bottles and glass, and the way he's clinking the bottles, he was just everybody just had to start laughing. It was just he clinked his bottles was so funny. He's just such a gifted physical comedian. So it's moments like that. I remember we're shooting in this dive bar in Manhattan Beach. It's like 2 a.m. and this is stuff. Just on and on, things like that. It's a lot of fun. I mean, for a lot of time, really, the business for me, it's really the moments with people that make it worthwhile. It's like what we're doing now. Like this is what's fun about all this stuff. It's
that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the people. So it's the moments. It's us. You remember. And I remember also on a Gunna Car Blonde, I was doing a scene with Billy Bob. We're in an old tire factory in downtown LA. And I do a scene with Billy Bob, and Robert Duvall had come to the set because they were friends. Mm-hmm. They had done a movie. And I finished a scene with Billy Bob Thornton, and Robert Duvall comes up to me after the scene. He goes, nice job. Nice job.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'm like,
wow.
That's friggin' Robert Duvall. So It's like, I'm a kid from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So you talk about these moments, right? And that's not in camera anywhere. That's not on video. That's not on Instagram. That's right here. And I'm like, oh man, this makes it worthwhile. This is these moments where you get to work with these great talents and just goofing around and things like that. I mean, those are the great moments of this business.
So how did you end up watching World going to the World Fair? Like, where did you catch that?
I saw that on HBO on Max. Saw that's where I saw it because it got a release there, and I heard about it, and I just love that. I'm a big titles guy.
Yeah.
It's a great title.
It is a good title. Yeah, it's intriguing right off the bat. You want to know what they're talking about.
Movie. Yeah, we're all going. We're all going. Okay, I gotta go.
You're like, I want to go too. No, I get it.
Let's go see it.
Are you a big YouTube guy?
I am. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm just so impressed. I love one of the great things about our business now is that you don't have there's not a lot of, you can get in without gatekeepers.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, I still remember early on, I did theater for years in New York. And then, would go out for things. I was like doing downtown theater and off Broadway and just would go out for things. It's like, oh, I'm going to get on film. I want to get on film because I always wanted to get on film. That's why I got in this business. Although I do love theater, I try and do up until COVID. I was doing probably a play about every 12 months or so out here in LA, even after I moved, because I like live theater. But it's like I always wanted to be in cinema. I always loved the movie world, movie and TV world. And I was like, God, I got to get on film, get on film. Now it's like, want to get on film? It's like, get on film.
Oh, yeah. Pull out your phone. Yeah.
Here we go. We're all on film.
Yep.
So it's like, it's a different thing. So it's like, so I like that. And that's expanded the art too, because I just see I see filmmakers on YouTube. I see how people are, I just really like it. So I watch a lot of YouTube. I try and look at creepy stuff on YouTube. And I think there's a lot of innovative stuff on Instagram Reels now that I like.
Yeah.
People are doing horror on that as well. And I'm just really impressed with the level of talent. And of course, the tools have gotten so much better. I mean, I look for originals. Like one of the things I don't care for is the repetitive nature of some of these, because there's a lot of people that are just doing it to get paid as influencers or whatever.
Right.
And they essentially regurgitate the same stuff. So that really, I'm not a fan of that. It's like, oh, I just saw this. Now they're stealing this and do that. But there's a lot of original stuff out there. I really respect original thoughts. And usually what happens, you see an original thought and then it's copied like 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that original work. So I do watch a lot of YouTube.
Have you actually found any how to make sigil videos on YouTube before? Or is that just something you came up with?
It just, that whole thing, it's like I just came up with it. It's like I'd read about sigils because, again, I'm a believer in this stuff, right? I mean, I always tell, like even now when I'm doing something, I'm very careful not to have real incantations or real stuff. And, I am convinced, whether I'm insane or not, I don't know.
I'm with you.
But I am convinced. I've had direct experiences with the paranormal, and I believe that evil is a real thing.
Okay, hold on. Let's what
It
direct
is.
experiences?
I have too. I've ghosts.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
things moving. I believe it. You believe in this, Mr. Paul?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that I felt this darkness. I was in New York City in my old apartment. I saw a bluish white figure hovering on the ceiling. Now, I don't drink or use drugs. I mean,
I was going to ask you. That's our first thing. You were on that good stuff.
I'll smoke an occasional cigar and I drink coffee and that's it.
Okay.
So I remember I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw this amorphous, like shaped like a person, blue and white at the ceiling, right? Hovering on the ceiling. It was the shape of a human. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, I have something in my eyes. So I, rubbed my eyes. I looked down, I looked up. It was still there. So it's like, that is, I saw it with my own eyes, right? I lived, the house that I grew up in, convinced it was haunted. I used to see figures, walking by like open doorways, all the time in that house. I remember being poked in the back.
Oh, wow.
In my bedroom.
Oh, yours is a bit extreme. You're like the boy from The Sixth Sense. You see dead people.
Right. Now we're going over years of time.
Man.
We're not jam-packed, but it's like enough of these things. And I think, okay, all right, this is what it is. And again, because I'm open and I talk about this, people are open and talk to me about it. Even a lot of people that don't want to talk about it to others because they don't want people to think they're nuts or whatever. They'll talk to me, and I can tell you, people have had. There's a lot of experiences out there. Even people that are just, they say, I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in an afterlife. But this weird thing happened, right? And they'll tell me this weird thing that can't be explained. So I'm a believer. So while I'm working in the creepy world here, doing stuff, I'm careful not to have real. I don't want to call real entities in or anything like that. So,
but it would be so perfect for found footage.
It would be. Yeah, it would be. But it's like I don't call it. So.
Do any of those like ghosts or beings or entities that you've seen, does that inspire anything that you've done or maybe upcoming films? Does that stuff go?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one of these things, it certainly has affected me spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. I believe in a loving higher power, right? I don't know if that higher power cares what particular religion you are or anything like that. Right. But I do believe it's good. And I believe that I believe in free will, right? So I believe that, if there is free will, it doesn't just exist in the physical world. If there's real free will, if the universe is created with free will, then even in the non-physical world, people can choose to do the wrong thing. They can choose to live by ego. They can choose to live, selfishly and everything else. Otherwise, we'd just be for whatever the higher power is, we'd just be puppets if we could only do good things all the time or just, we're controlled. So I figured, well, God didn't make puppets. So I figure, evil exists because, again, I've experienced this sort of darkness. Mm-hmm. And I think, okay, you can choose to live selfishly if you can choose to be of service. So it's like, I think the good thing is most people, I think, are trying to do the right thing. But there are evil people here. And I think just like there are evil people on this side of the veil, there's evil on the other side of the veil. And that's where you got to be, I don't want to mess with that side.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, in the Coldness, I noted that I'm trying not to spoil anything here. And also, when does the Coldness have a wide release coming out?
It'll we're getting close. We're talking to different distributors now. We're doing, like I said, we have the premiere, June 21st out here, but it's going to be, we're getting close. We're going to have something. I would anticipate it's probably going to be out later this year, maybe Halloween or later, or early the following year. So,
okay. And you're going to try and go distro? I almost thought you might do self-distribute.
I mean, that's always nowadays too. Like I said, that's always an option now. But we're talking to several different people we have interest from. So we'll see what happens. But that's all, always a possibility now too.
Yeah. We have many friends out there who have turned their little micro budget movie into something that they've actually marketed alone, like one man team. So if you end up going down that road, let us know. But
I will.
This isn't too much. So in the movie, you're playing a retired homicide detective who's investigating a string of what seem to be strange murders. And you end up on YouTube looking at somebody who kind of does a how-to with sigils.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting that in your film, it's not portrayed as inherently evil.
Right.
Although the little part that we get to see, I couldn't imagine people following that YouTuber and using it for good. Like, I don't know why. It just seemed like inherently people would take it like, oh, I have control over the universe now. I'm going to bend it to my will.
Right. Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, that's kind of my feeling on this, because usually when somebody's trying to control, like the dangers of witchcraft are always that you're trying to, like you just said, control the universe, right?
Yeah.
What does that make you? That makes you God, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, again, if you believe in the 10 commandments, what's the first commandment? There's one God, right? Mm-hmm. You're not it. And then you're like, well, I know I'm not God, but maybe I can do it. It's like the Lucifer story. It's like, well, I don't want to do your will. I want to do my will. So I'm going to use a part of this sort of, because all this vibratory energy in the universe, I'm going to use a part of that to get what I want. So it's like, in many respects, the Coldness is a movie. My theme about it, the word for it was like want. It was all about wanting that movie. And it's like, that's all that, for me, it's like all that that's a dangerous path, That's always fascinating to me, because you can tell yourself all kinds of things, as we all struggle with what we struggle with. And it's like, we can tell ourselves all kinds of things about why we're doing something or whatever. But it's like, that's always that trying to get yours. That's where all the bad stuff seems to happen. And
so in your film, you have a pretty detailed rule set to sigil making. Right. And if you came out to UF, we actually included a little kit.
I know,
in the VHS box.
Right.
So we're trying to promote people to bend the will to the universe to their will.
Right.
But did you have a Wiccan guide or so, where were you getting these ideas from?
I did a lot of research on how to make sigils, and I just felt it was necessary in the screenplay to just show, just for the reality of it, just to show, to not gloss over that, and just let people know this is how it's done. And this is how it's done, too. It's like I had a lot of different sources for sigil making, but this is how it's done. And sigil making is a big part of witchcraft, because you're focusing that energy on what you want. So I just felt it was necessary for the screen, the reality of the world and everything else, to just, it's sort of a buy-in for the audience. Because I think, even for me, here's a guy that I consider myself cautious about the spiritual realm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But even me, on a daily basis, there's always an appeal to getting exactly what you want when you want it. Because you think, because in general, we're, speaking for myself, it's like, I think I'm a reasonable guy. I want the right things for people. It's like, so it's like, I just want to get what I want, right? Let me get what I want. I'm going to be kind to everybody, but let me get what I want. So there's always sort of, I guess the Bible actually calls that original sin. It's like that, this whole thing. It's like, what's the harm? I'll do this, I'll get what I want here. I want to do. So, so that's the thing. It's like, and there's mechanisms, and I think that, there's real power in this stuff. I think what happens, just like what happens in, I won't give away too much about the colon, but it's like, I don't think things turn out well. My experience with people that mess with this, they end up getting burned, right? It's always good for a while, but they end up getting burned. People wouldn't be doing this for thousands of years if it didn't work somewhat, Yeah. It's like, people don't do a lot of things it's like nobody's running around eating asphalt, right? Because it doesn't work.
I almost thought you said something else, and you woke me up. You said eating ass, and I was like, "Oh, Paul, okay." Y'all caught that?
So it's like, we know that. So people don't repeat what does not work. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. They wouldn't be doing these. They wouldn't be making sigils still if they didn't work, in some way.
That's right.
I love that. Paul's a professional. He went right past that.
He sure did. He knew what he was doing. He paused a little bit after the ass fault. That was great.
So, Paul, Terrell's told me about his experiences with ghosts before, and they're always there's an inciting incident. What was the one where you're in the house and you heard something upstairs?
Yeah, it was because my friend, she was moving out, and this house is supposedly haunted. We looked it up. It was a woman and a kid that died in this house. And apparently we're moving out, and we were she was moving out, and it was nothing upstairs, and we heard a thump, and the lights flickered. And there's nothing up there, so my big ass ran up out this house. I was scared. And that thing, I felt like that was an evil entity. It was darkness, because why would you thump up there and flicker the lights?
But what were you doing that you think caused it?
Well, we were doing a Ouija board. We made a Ouija board. So we we asked for it, I guess, because we put it all together. We didn't even say bye, so things still probably haunting me. So it might be in this room. Who knows? But
don't bring it over here.
Well, it's been here.
You can keep it.
You guys had one in y'all room, didn't you?
Yeah, Paul. He was trying to convince Oksana, who's here off camera, that
I did. I convinced her
that our child was seeing a demon in our closet.
Yep.
Thanks, Terrell.
But it's true. It was a ghost in there. He kept looking at it off to the corner in their closet, and it has to be something there, right?
No, wrong. There was nothing there. I don't know. I can't start to buy into that because my imagination.
You were scared.
Well, I mean, it's right there. So I just choose no. But so Paul, you've had multiple encounters. You're playing with sigils here, you're making movies about them. Have you ever earnestly done a kind of, I don't know, party game or anything that you think evoked a spirit?
No, and it's funny too. You even bring that up. I don't know what it is. It's like I can read palms. For some reason, I get energy off of palms. I'll read palms, right?
Yeah.
And I know what to look for, and it creeps me out to a certain extent because it's like sort of divination for me.
Yeah.
And it's like Ouija board. I don't know. Now I'm not saying palm reading is evil or anything like that.
Right.
But there's a weirdness to it, so I avoid it. Because for a while it was like you read palms, and when people find out you can read palms, they're going to ask you to read their palms.
I almost asked you.
Yeah, we're about to.
Like, could you read mine?
You start doing anything, there's something more going on here. It's like, I don't know if it's I'm fooling myself because I'm pretty intuitive anyway. Just like I'm talking about like writing and acting and stuff, I'm intuitive. So I don't know if it's the intuition from anything, but there's a level of divination to it that creeps me out. Now, I have tarot cards here. Ooh. And for a while I was painting tarot cards, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And because to relax for a while, I would paint once in a while. And I have tarot cards, and there's a part of me that's like, get rid of the tarot cards, right? I have them by where I do my, a lot of my reading. I have this beautiful set of tarot cards, but I don't mess with the tarot cards, but they're there. And there's a part of me, like I'd have, there are people that tell you, throw out tarot cards, don't even have them in the house. Don't have a Ouija board in the house. My mom, look, all right, we're going down.
All right.
Might as well. So I'm Italian and Finnish. That's my background, right? Now, my mom is Finnish, and my mom was very psychic, and she comes from a long line of sort of Finnish mystics. Anybody that knows any Finns, there's like the Vikings were afraid of the Finns because they said they were all witches, right?
This is scary.
I know you're scary.
You're scaring me. You're an offspring of a wicked.
Yeah. So not saying my mom, she was just very intuitive, psychic, everything else.
Yeah.
But when she was young, and she grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, that's where all the Finns are up there. It's sort of like little Finland up there. So when my mom was young, can't believe I'm talking about all this stuff.
No, we love it. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when my mom was young, she had a Ouija board, right? And she had a cousin, her cousin Wally, she was very close to. He was a tail gunner on an old B-52 bomber during World War II, right?
Damn.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
And they were very close. He was there, and he ended up getting killed it was tragedy. He was a young man. He got killed on his final mission over Germany during the war, right? And she was very close. My mom was very distraught about it. So she went to the Ouija board and tried to contact Wally. And the Ouija board answered her. The Ouija board would move for her. She didn't talk a lot about the other things, but obviously if she's going to the Ouija board, this is not the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was getting it to talk.
It works.
Yeah, it was.
It does. It's
So
scary.
it
I'm
works.
getting goosebumps.
You
I'm
had it too, right?
scared.
It worked for you as well,
Yes,
right?
it did. Yes,
Yeah,
it did.
I mean, it really. So my mom asked, if she, could she talk to, is Wally okay, right? And the board answered, such things I cannot say to my mom.
We said a lot of words.
Such things I cannot say. And I remember my mom told me that, right? And she, that really affected her. So later that night, my mom is in her room, right? Northern Michigan, and she wakes up in the middle of the night and there is a hag. We hear about the hag sightings.
Mm-hmm.
She has she says this was an old, horrifying looking crone looking at her. Like she opened her eyes and the woman's face was like right here.
Oh my God. Oh.
And so right after that, my mom threw the Ouija board away, right? So that was my mom's big Ouija board story. I knew she used it a lot, but that was, and this is how I'm remembering it. After she tried to contact her cousin Wally, the board didn't know, right? She had this hag sighting, and after that, she said, the next day I threw that board away, and she never went near it. So just as a little kid, my mom would warn me never to mess with Ouija boards. Don't try and talk, they talk, in the Bible, they warn about, no familiar spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to, there's a big stricture against necromancy, right? Don't try and speak with the dead. These are all things, of course, that we're all naturally interested in. So even me, I'm like naturally interested in this stuff.
Yeah.
You're painting tarot cards. By the way, if you get rid of those, send them here.
You
I would
want
love
those?
hell yeah. Is it a full deck or just are you doing like one off?
I have a deck, I have a deck of tarot cards, and then for a while, again, this is the sort of what's compelling about the dark side, right? Because I think it was during COVID or something, when we had a lot of time on our hand. I took those tarot cards and I started painting them. And, just painting the tarot cards, So I don't know. It's very compelling. This stuff's very compelling, but I think it's compelling because it's about power, and power is always compelling.
Yeah.
So it's just natural for people to want, me, everybody, essentially, to try and,
What's your sign, Paul?
I want an edge.
I'm curious. What's your sign? May I ask?
I'm a Pisces.
Oh, okay. Nice.
What's that mean, Terrell?
I don't know. They have fish. I was gonna guess Sagittarius with all this spiritualism, but Pisces. Okay.
I'm a Pisces.
Water sign. Nice.
Yeah.
Creative. That's the only thing I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And clearly, Paul is.
Yeah. Paul's scary to me today now.
You're living in LA now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing happened there. I always hear LA is a town of ghosts with so much that's gone on in the arts and
skinny ghosts.
There's a lot of haunted spots out here. I've never really I don't really think I know one time I was on a boat that was supposedly haunted. A friend of mine was doing a documentary on it. And I was out there shooting overnight, but we didn't see anything. So I don't have a whole lot of direct experiences out in.
Wait, so you were part of like a ghost hunt?
Well, yeah. So a friend of mine was doing this ghost hunt, and they were shooting on the ship. Nothing happened, and I think I will say there's I've worked on all the lots in town, and it's you'll go to these certain stages and there's a feeling to them. I mean, there's what they call it, the stone tapes, right?
Yeah.
They'll talk about sometimes a lot of hauntings are just like there are places in England where they'll see Roman soldiers marching and it's always the same, but it's almost like a recording in the stone. So
There's a movie called The Stone Tapes that
okay,
deals with all that.
Oh yeah. So that's it. I think everything is, like Tesla said, everything's kind of vibration. Like we all vibrate at certain levels. That's how some people are repellent, some people connect or whatever. And I think that there's vibrations of places. So I've been on sound stages that give you a weird feeling. So, I have that, but that's just like, I mean,
I like that theory. It's kind of like why a house would have negative energy.
right.
Like if something bad happened there, it's almost like the walls remember.
Right.
I don't know if I believe it, but I've definitely walked into places where you're like, dude, this room.
You have?
Yeah.
No, you haven't.
You've never got a bad vibe from like walking into a building?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of things. Maybe the way it's decorated, or even just the vibe of the people there.
Oh, the people there, yes.
Yeah, and I think now we get a lot of that with like liminal space. Like that's the popular thing online, where during COVID you would have like a party hall that's just empty.
Yes.
So when you're there, it almost like evokes like loneliness or like
Oh yes. Oh yeah. It's just and there's certainly some of these sound stages, they give you that liminal space feeling, and I feel it. And I think it's something that's attractive to us as humans too. It's that sort of that we like that feeling of that loneliness, that it's such an evocative feeling where you'll just be somewhere. That's why it's like I would always like to go to. I remember as a child they had torn down a house, and I would always go as a little kid. I wasn't allowed to leave the block, but I would sneak off the block, go to this next block over in New Jersey, and just go look in the ruins of this house. And it's like looking, and it gave me that feeling.
Yeah.
And I remember going. There was in northern Michigan. We used to go up to the Upper Peninsula in the summer times to visit my grandmother, and I would go up on these old rock piles from the mines, and I would love that lonely that lonely, desolate feeling. It's like creepy and just, that feeling. That's why it's like these liminal spaces are so effective cinematically. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I felt that recently when we went to go watch The Watchers. That theater was like a damn liminal space. There was nobody in there but me and Terrell.
Oh, it's crazy now, right? Because I still try to go to the theater. And I remember, I went to see Civil War, A24 Civil War, and I think there was me and 3 other people there.
The movie's great, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a great movie at the Laemmle, and I'm like, it's like prime time. Nobody's there. I said, well, we're seeing the change. This is what it is. It's like now, live cinema, going out to see cinema now is becoming an event. You just have to. So it's strange because I used to go growing, it's for most of us, growing up. I mean, I would go to the movies every weekend.
Yeah.
That's a double feature.
That's my thing.
I'd be there all day long. I would just, and that was the thing. And the place was jam packed at all times.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Thankfully, me and Terrell, we still go every week.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
we keep it alive.
That's great.
I live very rural, so I don't have the option to go as much as them. But
you in the trees, that's why.
I have a projector. I'll set up outside and watch stuff. So I do kind of try to create the cinema experience at home as much as I can, But
just you and the animals out there.
And
the
bugs.
It adds something to when you watch a found footage movie where they're walking around in the woods and you're sitting in the dark woods watching it. It really adds something to it,
Well, how far away is the nearest theater to you?
It takes about 40 minutes to get there.
Damn,
that's rough.
We got to be motivated to go. Yeah,
between 30 and 40 to get there. It's because it's like a 30-mile trek. I mean, granted, I'm rural, so it's not like that time is just pure distance. It's not like it's traffic that I'm going through. It's just
that's worse. That's even worse. Well, Terrell, I know up top we had a lot of technical problems. So is there anything you wanted to get out to Paul now that you're back?
Yeah, it was Batman, those shows. You scared the hell out of me, Paul, in this interview. Could you tease anything else from this new movie that you got coming out? We'll give us little sneak peeks.
I think it's going to be think I'm hoping people will enjoy it. It's hitting some themes that are not hit too often.
Okay.
So we're assembling a really great cast, and so I'm pretty excited for it. And that's it. I'm excited to continue with the festival run of the Coldness now. Get it out there.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
With I thank you guys for the support of it. It's really
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping to go through the finish line, because we all know it's like indie cinema, right? It's like you write them, you make them, you post them, and then you got then distribution. I mean, there's that whole sort of run. So you got
June 21st. You said, right? June 21st.
Yeah, out here. Yeah, out here. It's going to be
The
at
premiere. Yeah.
Regal Cinemas. It's with Marina Del Rey.
Awesome.
Out here. So.
And then distribution. And do you think possibly you can have like a Blu-ray release? I'm all here for the physical media.
I mean, I really like physical media. We're talking to some people about that as well. As I'm a big believer in physical media.
Me too.
Yeah.
Making
1000%.
a comeback. Mm-hmm. One thing great about our universe is it's the last bastion of physical media, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In this world, but I think it's going to become. It seems to be getting more important now. So.
Yeah.
I mean, people are even doing VHS releases now. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So which I love all that stuff. You can't beat just having
and holding it, right? Looking at it, owning something. Yeah.
Holding it.
Well,
but I tell you got to fight for it, because I know even with me, I have a Blu-ray player and stuff, but it's like everything you just start streaming. You're just like, do you want to get it and put it in?
I know that's the struggle. I'm like, I own this. Do I want to go get up, or do I want to lay here and just go on Netflix?
Yeah,
or
just
Max, like you mentioned.
Hit the back button.
Yeah, let's just stream it. Whatever.
Otherwise, I got to go to the shelf. I got to open it.
But we came up with the solution to that earlier. If you make it an event and people come over and you watch it, fuck streaming. You don't want to deal with the internet.
Right.
Go grab your 4K or your Blu-ray.
Yep.
You have to put out a Blu-ray. That.
I mean, we're definitely. I mean, it's that we're talking to people right now about it. So it's.
I'm excited. I'm gonna have to get you to sign mine.
Yeah, we're gonna need to get it direct.
1000%.
Well, Paul, I know you got 2 found footage movies under your belt. I hope you don't turn your back on the subgenre now. We're just getting to know you. We love you. We want you back.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Short film, anything. Hear it up. We'll show it.
Right.
Yeah, and I want you to read my palm
No.
next year too at UF. So I'm gonna hit you up for that.
All right, good.
He's like, lose my number. Don't worry. We'll tell him not to.
Hey, well, thanks, Paul, again. Thanks for coming to Footage Foreplay.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to it. Send me any clips you want. I'll post them, and
I'm excited.
I'm excited for what you guys are doing here. It's outstanding.
Thanks for listening to Footage Foreplay. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review, sharing it with a friend, or simply hitting like. These small gestures are a great free way to support this mayhem, and if you find some footage we should be fondling, email us at footageforeplay@gmail.com. Check back every Tuesday and Thursday for new episodes, and remember, don't skip the foreplay.